Hey guys, welcome back to another Trade Genius podcast. Philip and Bob here. Bob, this weather thing, Europe was saying we are going to have a mild winter. Don't worry about energy prices too much. You were talking about how, hey, it's cold here, it's going to be cold there. And you've been digging into the weather data here, and it doesn't look good at all. We're going to dive into this in this video. I mean, what are we in trouble?
Trade Genius.
Yeah, Phil, I think we're in big trouble. Just a couple weeks ago, the forecasts were coming out mild winter, East Coast mild, and we're seeing different data than that. And I don't have to tell anybody listening that what happened in the Great Lakes this last week and a half is pretty much unprecedented, and I'll get to that in a second. But I want to show people the European chart, and the reason why we stayed long natural gas, okay, and have puts on KOLD. Check out this chart, guys. This is Europe. Right after they told us, Phil, that they're going to have a mild winter, and there's a blob, I'm going to show you a chart in a second, that was setting up for a disaster for Europe. And look at these cold temperatures. Remember, they don't have enough energy, Phil. They were praying for a mild winter. If the Europeans still pray, I guess those that are still there, you have to pray harder for the rest of them. But I think they're going to be in big trouble because this is not just an anomaly. This is I think could be a bit secular, based on the continuing reduction in the solar radiance coming and hitting the Earth. Let me flip the other chart and show you where this is all coming from.
What does that mean?
So when it gets really cold, and the sun's not producing, the Arctic gets very, very, very cold, Phil.
So this is the top down view of the Arctic we're looking at here?
Yeah, top down view from New York. That's minus 86 degrees Fahrenheit.
Jeez.
Okay, at I think it's at 500 feet or something elevation or some crazy thing like that. And what happens is when it gets so cold, you know how it is. You ever see those shows where they pour like CO2 and it just drifts to the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
When it gets so cold, it starts coming down off to that Arctic and it blobs.
Mm.
Okay, and when that blob starts, you start getting these cold pushes in. We've had one push into the central U.S. We have one pushing into right now into Europe, and that blob hit moisture coming up from the Gulf. And the snow that we had basically from Michigan all the way through New York and into southern parts of Ontario is unprecedented from record keeping. Now, it's interesting is because we've had people, Europeans have been trouncing around that part of the Great Lakes since the early 1500s. And this is the most snow they've seen this early, this much. And if it's hitting this early, Phil, and it starts putting an ice cap on and we start getting snow over top of it, it could be one of those years where it may not melt in some places, and this is other than the top of mountains. So keep an eye on, some places got 73 or 74 inches of snow in New York.
Yeah, incredible.
Okay, 6 feet of snow just doesn't go away. And what happens there is it's kind of like an albedo effect, which means that reflection. So when the sun hits white, it bounces back out. So the next chart I want to show you, this is a snow cover. And I did Russia. The U.S. is the same thing. But look at Russia and Canada, guys. It's kind of scary. All of Russia except the southwestern part of Russia is under snow right now. The whole country. Pushed down into Mongolia, pushed down into China. The U.S., Canada has a big snow cap on it now, pushed into the United States. We've had snow already. Ski resorts are already open out in the Sierras and into the Rockies. And very early snow. Big snows, too. These were 1 foot, 2 foot. We had some big snows already. And we're getting more next week coming into the West Coast. So it's going to be very interesting. So if we have this polar cap pushing in, at the same year, we're going to have an El Nino effect for the moisture coming in. It could be a recipe for massive, massive amount of snow, Phil. And with that, other than I live in Southern California, and who cares, the rest of you guys could suffer. How do we make money off of it? And I want to throw these next two charts and show you. So this chart here is the chart of, I believe the first one we have up is
Natural
UN
gas.
is natural gas. So natural gas is strong and it's grinding, and I suspect that we'll double top that, get to $9. Now, natural gas does really weird stuff, guys. It's if they run into a big draw, nat gas could push up to $20 or $30 in a heartbeat.
Wow.
Okay. Now it's hard to trade that. They call it the widowmaker for a reason. So I like to buy puts on KOLD when it gets an overbought area, and we're back in them again for December. And it's going to keep grinding. It may pop, and it keeps making lower lows and lower lows. That's the safest way to play nat gas. Longer term, I own Southwest Energy. I own Devon Energy. Those are good to have in the portfolio longer term. But it's not going to just affect energy this winter. Next year, it's going to affect food production. And let me throw the next chart up here. This is Archer Daniel Midland's ADM. Okay, this is a longer term trade, but look at that trade. That thing's pretty sweet. So it's pushing up to a double top here at 99. Had a big move today, and I think it's worth holding here. And so if it does what I think it's going to do, Phil, we're looking at a 128 of this is a stodgy old food broker, food processor, food storage, basically food infrastructure company, United States.
Okay.
And I think it's going to push up another 20 or 30% here in the next year or so. So I put that out there for people that want a longer term trade. I personally have bought 900 shares of it, and I feel pretty strongly about it. If you're a conservative trader like I am, you can always sell calls against it when you think it might be bumping up against a channel high. But this is a good trade to hold. Okay, and to me right now, failure is at 91, and I'd be gliding that thing up, stops up as it moves up over time. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. When we start getting into spring, and we start seeing where the snow cover sits, it's going to become more apparent how it's going to affect crop production next year. But we're going to have a pretty big snow cover in the U.S. and in Northern Hemisphere. And I even didn't talk about the Southern Hemisphere. They're coming into spring, summer right now. It's still cold in South Australia and those areas. So it definitely we're running into something I think more secular. I think the whole climate change, solar global warming thing prediction in 2 years, they're going to be just as blown out, just like all the other propaganda they kind of throw at us in the past. It's going to be off the charts. People are going to be like, we need heat for the world. You watch.
Yeah, I mean, the arrival of winter was so early this year. I mean, like the Pacific Northwest, I mean, yeah, like a month of spring, and then it was like, boom. Like you had temperatures that were at least a month early, as far as cold, and it's still cold. And so, yeah, this is going to be a really, really cold winter.
Yeah, look, I mean, we got down in the high 40s here in Southern California in the middle of November. We're like, hello. We had a Santa Ana that blew through yesterday, and it was having a hard time getting. When my wife goes, "Put me warm Santa Anas, right?" We had cold air blowing through.
Wow.
And we're supposed to get up to like 90 this week, and now they're putting it back down to the 70s. So I think the whole country is gonna see. And what's going to happen? Where it's going to happen, Phil? It's going to be wild gyrations and oscillations. So, you're going to see cold and warm. They're just going to be whipping back and forth. The bad news, if it gets a snow level on and you get a bit of a melt and it puts an ice cap on and then snows on top of it, that's when things really can hold and keep. So we're not done talking about this story. And the rest of this week, we have some good stuff to talk about. Some interesting things happening in the regulatory environment that's not crypto, although we'll probably have to talk about more crypto going forward. Because, Phil, isn't something happening with Bitcoin today?
Yeah, Bitcoin fell out of bed a little bit here as it fell back under 16,000. And the big elephant in the room right now is the digital currency group, DCG. They own Genesis Lending, and they also are the parent company of GBTC, which is basically our de facto spot ETF for the time being until one gets officially anointed. And they hold a significant chunk of the Bitcoin supply in their holdings. And we don't know what the ramifications are from the Genesis fallout. It doesn't look like they're going to stay solvent. And then we don't know how much of a drag that's going to be on the parent digital currency group company. And ultimately, what's going to happen with GBTC? It is ring fenced, so it's not like they are going to be forced to liquidate it. It could force them to sell it And I have a theory that maybe the reason why this spot ETF was put off was because maybe some of the guys in the regulatory club, maybe those bigger players might have an opportunity to buy GBTC, and then you see them get an approval and convert that thing into an ETF. So that's a little bit of a tinfoil theory, but I could see that playing out possibly, and why we've seen such a delay in a spot ETF. So we'll see. We'll dig into that more this week.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. But anyway, hey guys, if you like what we're doing, hit like, hit notification, subscribe. Just get us out there so we can spread the word. I think what we're sharing with you guys is really pretty interesting stuff, hopefully actionable. We're not here just to deliver doom to you guys. We want to deliver profits to you guys. So Thanks for listening. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk at you tomorrow.
See you guys.
Trade Genius.